What is up, fellow nerds, and welcome back to the Dapper Snapper Gaming channel, and welcome to our draft analysis for Unpl Season 6. I am so excited to be jumping back into draft this season, and listen, we've had a tough few seasons. We've had a rough time, but this season we're going back to the drawing board. We're changing things up. We are going to use some things we're comfortable with. Instead of trying to always do things new, we're going to try to go back to basics and use things that we know have worked so far. So I hope you all are looking forward to an amazing season. I've built a team that I am really happy with, and I can't wait to show it to you. So before we jump into it, make sure to leave a like on the video, subscribe if you haven't already, and of course make sure to share the video with your friends, and of course click the bell so you're notified when new videos are uploaded. I wanted to start off my draft with a Pokemon that I have not drafted in a while, and actually have not drafted since way before Dapper Snapper Gaming was even a thing, and it's my favorite Uber, pretty much. It's Kieran Black. We have snagged Kieran Black in round 1, which is absolutely incredible. This mon hits like an absolute truck with 170 base attack, and it also gets access to Bolt Beam coverage with both Icicle Spear and Fusion Bolt. Really good. We get Dragon Dance to boost our attack and our speed. We of course also get Scale Shot, so the loaded dice item is incredibly valuable here. There's a lot of great value on this Pokemon as a early game breaker, late game sweeper, and it's actually pretty decently bulky as well, with 125 HP and 100 defense, 90 SPDF. This thing will live some hits. It's a really good mon to start us off with, and I think you're gonna like what we do with it going forward. Next up, representing UNPL Season 3. Yeah, that's a throwback. We are bringing back Golden Go. Golden Go, of course, is one of the best spin blockers slash defog blockers in the game. It's got one of the best typings in the game, and it's got a great move pool. It hits really hard. The speed is not fantastic, but it's also, you know, it's usable. It's bulky enough to run bulky. It's offensive enough to run offensive. It can do a lot of really great stuff. It provides me a steel type, so we're doing really well on our Dragon Steel Fairy Core, which we will keep working on as we go. And this thing is absolutely fantastic. I loved using it in Season 3, got me to playoffs, and of course we are going to be bringing it back this time as well. Representing Season 4, we are going to the season where we made finals. I really wanted to have an influence with that, and so here we are grabbing Glamora. Now, I didn't use Glamora to its fullest extent, I think, in that season, but this does give me an amazing grounded poison. It gives me hazard removal, it gives me hazard setting with all of the hazards, which is fantastic. This thing also hits really hard, and so it can be very offensive as well with Rock Polish, Meteor Beam type of stuff. There's a lot that you can do with this. It gets a lot of great coverage. I really like this Pokemon. Now, like I mentioned at the beginning, this is high tier Terra, meaning that we can terrestrialize some things that are way more powerful than we have ever allowed in UNPL. And this season, listen, I've been wanting to use this mon with Terra for forever, and it's always been banned. And this season, it is unbanned. We are going with Terra Low Kicks. Now, Low Kicks, of course, as I've said on the channel before, was my first shiny in Scarlet and Violet. I found it up on a snowy mountain, just kind of chilling, and it's been a mon that I've absolutely loved ever since. I had this in LTM when I was in that league, and it did work there. It was not Terra there, but it is Terra here. And again, this is open Terra with Terra Preview, so as long as we tell our opponent what Terra type we are, then we can be any Terra that we want. Now, in fairness, Low Kicks is a little bit predictable because generally you're going to be picking either Bug or Dark, but every now and then we might be able to shake it up and grab some nice coverage that we need elsewhere. It gets amazing priority for the team, it gives me more momentum, and it also, of course, is just a super hard hitter with Tinted Lens, ignoring any kind of not very effective. That is just so good on this thing. It also can run Banded, it can run Scarfed, it can run Life Orb with Swords Dance. There are so many good sets that this can run, and so you really have to be careful with this thing if you are on the receiving end, or it will just sweep your team. It's absolutely fantastic. Next up, yet another LTM alumni, and this was actually my Terra Captain in LTM. It's not a Terra Captain this time around, but we got Kilowattrel. Kilowattrel is a ton of fun. Yes, it doesn't hit that hard at 105 special attack, but it gets really good speed. It gets really decent coverage, honestly. The flying plus electric is good. This is Zapdos at home, and we also are going to be able to give it a little bit more coverage here in just a little bit, and you'll see what I mean here in a minute. But this thing is great. Again, another momentum mon. It's fast. It gives me an immunity to electric, which is really good, or competitive in order to take advantage of any intimidators or possibly a defog. This thing can take advantage of that, which is really, really cool. And I like this thing. It's great for chip. I don't typically use it as a sweeper. I think it's really good for chipping things down in the early and mid game in order to put things in range of things like Kyurem Black or Terra Lokix. It's really, really good for that. For my next pick, I needed something specific. I needed a fire type for my next pick, and there wasn't any alumni picks that I was really looking for. So for the first time this draft, I ventured outside of my comfort zone, and I went with Chi-Yu. Now listen, I have been a Chi-Yu hater, at least in draft, for a little while now. Now I know it's not the worst thing, right? It still hits very hard, but to me, I do see it a bit predictable, and it does double up on my dark types with Lokix. But honestly, I think it fits really well. The speed tier is fine. It hits super hard with Beads of Ruin, of course, boosting everything. It gets nasty plot. It's a great Scarfer. It's a great specs user. It can do a lot of different things, honestly. Just you have to be prepared for fire plus dark. And, you know, if you're not prepared for that, this thing will just ruin your life. And I like that option there. Really, really offensive, as you can tell from my team so far, with a little bit of utility in there, and this of course is no exception in that, and we are of course working on our fire water grass core as well. Next up, I wanted to go ahead and grab my fairy, and we do have an alumni fairy from last season, and we grabbed Ninetales Alola. This is great. We now have Snow with Kyurem. Now, if you aren't aware, Snow was buffed when it was added into this new game. Of course, we got rid of Hail, and now we have Snowscape, or just Snow. And of course, this now gives a defense boost to Ice types. That means that Kyurem is even bulkier than it was before, which is really, really good. It also means that we can afford to be a little bit more offensive. We don't have to be as bulky on Kyurem, just relying on its natural bulk. And this thing also gives me screens. I absolutely love this thing. It gives me, again, more momentum with Baton Pass. It gives me fairy type coverage with Moonblast. It gives me Aurora Veil, free blizzards for days, all kinds of great stuff. I really, really like this mon, and again, another great speed tier, so I'm loving having that around as well. Next up, yet another mon that I have not drafted before. Now listen, there's only 3 mons on this entire team that I have not drafted before since I've started doing this here. And so I think I'm allowed 3 mons, right? And so we're grabbing Whimsicott. Now Whimsicott is super fun. It gives me a prankster user. Yes, I know that I have used things like Sableye to great success, but I needed a grass type here. And yes, this is double fairy, but I think it's fine. But this gives me another prankster user, and I think that this thing is going to be really, really good. Yet again, another user of momentum. This gives me Tailwind support, which is great. Stun Spore for roughly the same reason. There's a lot of really good stuff that this gives me, and I really like the support options in order to boost up my more offensive threats as we go forward. And let's be real. Whimsicott may not be the strongest thing out there, but Specs Whimsicott can go nuts, okay? And this thing can really do some work. I really like that. So we can absolutely make this work. Next up, yet another returner. Now, I didn't actually bring this mon when I drafted it before, but we did draft it, and it was on our team, at least briefly. And so coming back from UNPL Season 4, hopefully getting a little bit more stage time, is going to be Hitmonchan. I wanted a secondary spinner here because Glamora was my only removal at this time, and so I grabbed this as a secondary rapid spinner. It also really got buffed this generation because of the introduction of the Punching Glove. Punching Glove, of course, is going to give us a 10% boost to our punching moves. This, of course, does stack with Iron Fist, which is great. And of course, we can also use Rapid Spin to boost our speed because that's really somewhere that we are lacking. This thing gets bulk up, it gets all kinds of coverage. Knockoff, of course, is there as well. There's a lot of really good stuff about this, and it's a pretty solid spinner, right? Assault Vest works great on it, Punching Glove, like I said. There's a lot of really good things that you can do with this. The coverage is there, the offensiveness is there, the utility is there. There's a lot to love, and so hopefully we will be able to let it shine this time around, and we turned around and made this our second Terra Captain. All right, finally, we have one more pick, and I had, I believe, 3 points left, and I had the same number of Terra points as well. So I had enough for a very low tier Terra Captain, and I wanted to bring the absolute GOAT. Now, I've not actually drafted this before, but I think that we can make this thing work, and that is Whiscash. Now, Whiscash is a derpy little boy, but you know what? It gets enough to where I think that we can really make this work. It gets rocks. It gets spikes, it gets pretty decent coverage, it gets some really weird stuff, it gets future sight for some reason, which I think is really funny. I will probably have to bring that at some point, but yeah, this thing is funky, but I think it's cool. It also gets Dragon Dance, so if you want to run a more offensive type of thing, it's there. Now it's super slow, so you need a few of them, but it's a cool mon, and I think that we can actually make this work as either a hazard setter, or we can try to make it work as more offensive, and really go from there. So that is your squad for the Appalachia Appletons here in Season 6 of UNPL. 1 week from today, we will have our Week 1 match, and we are facing off against Golden Guy. If you remember from last season, of course, we faced Golden Guy and lost very narrowly on a very interesting end game, and so hopefully we will be able to get that back this time around and start off strong. Of course, if you want to see what all of the other coaches brought, make sure to check out the fan doc on the UNPL Discord server, which of course is linked down below, and of course check out all of the other coaches, which are in the paste bin also in the description. So until next week, I hope you all stay safe out there, stay healthy, and we'll see you later. Bye-bye.